What is up, and welcome back to Zen Business. I'm so honored to have Major Williams in the house today. Major is the gubernatorial candidate for California governor seat 2022. Had an awesome run. That's initially how I came to find Major, and the story really inspired me. But he's also an entrepreneur, had some incredible blowout successes from selling $800,000 in ebooks to creating all kinds of charities and philanthropy. So I really respect your journey, and I'm excited to have you. Thanks for coming on, Major.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on, brother. Let's do this.
Hell yeah, man. So I even way back when I first found you, I just thought your story was so cool because I think the thing that stuck out to me, there's like a certain moment when I saw you out shaking hands with everyday people, voters, getting out there and just getting on the ground and meeting people. And I was really inspired because you're just like a good, honest guy doing the good work, the hard work, and connecting with people. And that part of your story really connected with me, as well as your what I would consider kind of countercultural, political angles. It's not just like, hey, we all fit into this one party, but it was really like I felt that you had thought through your intentions and your angles and your beliefs from the ground up. You're a first principles guy, and I really admire that. So. I'd love to just hear about what that journey was like running for governor of California and having such a good run and, really making such waves.
Well, describing the story in regards to why I started, I tell people I was a pissed off parent, right? At the end of the day, this wasn't like a situation where I had these aspirations to be a public servant. Growing up, the way that I grew up with my mother, she was a public servant in regards to always giving back to the community. So I grew up around that mindset in that environment. But when it came down to it just came down, like I said, I wanted to introduce a different way of thinking and a different energy. Maybe that's what it was. It was a different energy that I wanted to bring to California. If I went down the gamut of candidates or even elected officials, I started to see this trend of these types of individuals that looked the same, felt the same, and produced the same results. And so then came the ideal of why not me, right? And to be honest, it wasn't why not me. It was like, why not something different? Why not someone else? And so I created the new California Governor Committee, which was putting me in charge of going out speaking to local business owners and people that worked in the community that had the same type of frustrations that I had, and said, hey, would you consider running for governor? And so I did this at least 6 or 7 times. I did a whole pitch, passionate about the things that I wanted to accomplish here in this state. And every single time, at the end of it, they would say, you should just do it. They say, I can't talk like you. I can't have that type of passion. I can't storytell. I can't do it like you. So ultimately, that's what it came down to, me just saying, you know what? I love this state. It's giving me everything that I love in regards to my family, my ambition, the goals I've been able to accomplish. So I'm willing to fight for it. And that's the foundational reason why I decided to run for governor.
So why were you pissed off as a parent?
When you look at the climate and decline of California, so it's about quality. I came in an era where in 2001, there was a lot of utopia. And what I mean by utopia is that even when you look at the climate of socialization amongst people, it was a mix of us. It's all of us working together, all of us building together, caring about family. And I just seen the language start to shift and change. When the language starts to shift and change, it means that policy and legislation starts to shift and change. When policy and legislation starts to shift and change, the culture of where you live starts to change, which is why you see the uptick in crime, which is why you saw the uptick in homelessness. And then I was really peeved off about how they approached homelessness. Whenever you have a government body that looks at homelessness like a service versus an actual, statement of trying to remedy it, then you know that you're in trouble. Because now you know that they're not really interested in solving homelessness because it's a business. Right? It's a business. And that's what I meant to say. They look at it like a business versus a service. If you look at something like a business, you don't want that to leave. Right? So these facilities have employees. If you solve homelessness, those employees at those facilities would no longer exist. So there is a pull and tug that's happening with that, and it needs to be called out. And I was one of the first ones to do that, and it resonated with people. It was a very simple understanding that if you want to solve homelessness here in California, you have to look at it like a service and not a business.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting because I think a lot of people, like, for example, Elon Musk and Donald Trump are businessmen. They get shit done, but at the same time, you have to look at it through a service lens, which I hadn't thought about up until now. So I really like that angle. And somebody was telling me the other day they live in Miami, and they said, in Miami, it's basically illegal to be homeless. If you're on the street and you're out panhandling and doing shady shit, they pick you up, put you in a paddy wagon, and take you to a space that is dedicated to homeless people.
Right.
Now, those people often leave. That's obviously not forced to live there, but the I guess the concern that you might get picked up and taken away in the paddy wagon prevents people from going to Miami and panhandling and doing all of that stuff that creates that bad culture. And they've pretty much solved it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny because California has been at it for so long and has never solved it. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's a money machine. I feel like it's more so of a money laundering machine, right? There are actually people there. I've spoken to people. I went down to Skid Row multiple times, and I spoke with people in those communities, and people actually travel from other states to come to California to be homeless. If you just think about what I just said, people travel from other areas in other states to come to California to be homeless and take advantage of what? The opportunities and resources to continue that type of behavior. They travel here because they know that we're going to give them drug needles, we're going to give them showers, we're going to get everything they want without giving them reinforcements or putting any barriers of completion for them to change their ways. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why it continues to grow. People have a mindset of understanding that the leadership here in California accepts it. So if you're talking about Miami, I've heard of that as well. But if you do that here, people think that you're being cruel. But at the end of the day, you want to push people to become the best version of themselves. And so sometimes that can be tough love. And once you do it long enough and you start to see those results, and that's the thing about it. A lot of people don't want to wait until we see the results because they're too stuck in their emotions about the right now. Sometimes in order to really excel and get the good parts of life, you have to go through the dark parts or the painful parts. And because of that, it's built character, and you come out with a thicker layer in understanding, which gives you an opportunity to propel in this world. And that's what I was prepared to do as governor.
Yeah, something that really stuck out that you said is that you have to experience the darkness before you can see the light. Or there's another quote that goes, "It's always darkest right before the light."
Yep.
And maybe those people who think that way just haven't personally gone through the incredible challenge of starting a business to appreciate the development and learning that comes, like how much it sculpts you as a person. And I just see a lot of parallels with business, and I know you've had some great business successes, so I'd love to get into those. Most of the audience here is tech founders, so these are people who are creating apps and softwares, et cetera, and they're really the cutting edge of innovation and also the major drivers behind our economic growth. You think about AI and all of these major developments that are about to unlock a big boom in our economy, and I'm really proud to be on that forefront with founders. We've worked with over 100 founders at this point, growing their tech startups. So as a founder yourself, I know that you had a blowout success marketing a book, which is kind of unconventional, but you guys did over $800,000 in sales and basically bootstrapped that. So can you talk me through how that book launch went and how you achieved such immense success with it?
Well, I was very intentional about how I was going to do it. The first thing I wanted to do is make it price friendly and budget friendly because of the time that we were in at that particular time, because it was right after COVID. But I also wanted to uplift and inspire. So I created a brand and a community called Majorvation. Majorvation is a brand that's meant to uplift, to inspire, and to really push people to become the best versions of themselves. So in lieu of that, the real story is that I was actually working on myself as well, fighting against procrastination. I've been wanting to do this book for 2 years, right? And I still haven't done it. So I finally pushed myself to actually get it done. I looked at the community that I had, and I knew who the audience was, basically. And I created something that I feel like they could fill a void for them. So not only did I know that people were thirsty for knowledge, they were thirsty for they were thirsty for it to come from someone that was kind of like-minded and aligned with them as well. So I basically used my internal network. I used a group of people. I marketed to them, and I also gave them call to actions as well. So it wasn't just me. It was actually the way that I was able to give them call to actions to get them excited and motivated about it that created this domino effect in regards to what made it such a success. So $4.99, over 400,000 downloads. You know, you do the math. It was a pretty great time for that to happen. But the beautiful part about it is that I was able to now share that with other individuals and give them that same blueprint so they can have that success as well.
Yeah, I love that you blueprinted it and made it available to people. So basically you're unlocking for anybody to have that kind of success. And I've always kind of dreamed about writing a book, and I never really believed in myself that I could have one of those kind of viral moments with a book because it's hard. It's really hard. But let's talk about the brass tacks. So you said you enrolled your network to help support it. So what exactly did you do? Did you mail them a copy of the book? Did you ask them to post on their socials? How did you create that initial domino?
So because my audience is very broad, so I have an audience that's from when I played basketball, from sports that's followed me, from high school, you know, so I've always had community on Facebook. But then you look at from the music, then you look at from me doing national TV commercials, from having entertainment people that I know, and then just from being out and about through my nonprofit and working with different organizations. So what I did was I did a hack. I reached out to everyone who I knew at first who had huge networks, and I gave them the actual message that I wanted them to share with their audience based upon who they were. So if it was an organization and I know on their donor list, they have over 500,000 donations over the last X amount of years, and they have access to those emails, I would reach out to them and I would say I would only want $1 back if you guys promote and market my book. So that's a creative hack. And I share that with people in my workshops. It's like, you know what? Sometimes it's not about getting the whole amount that you want to charge. You can creatively work with people as well. So that in itself, sending it to 500,000 people, I think it brought back 15,000 sales.
Wow.
Right. And so when you have that early success, you start looking for other opportunities to duplicate that over and over again. And that's a secret sauce that a lot of people don't tell you. You know, they think that you have to be the one that do it all by yourself, but you just got to be a thinker in this day and age. And I hope that we also talk about AI also, you know, because I've really been talking about that a lot lately in regards to just books and information is there in abundance for all of us. But more so now it's about how do you ask the right questions to get the right responses that give you the answers to some of the issues that you may have.
Yeah, I find the parallel funny because the best interviewers or the best podcasters, you know, reporters, their whole practice is learning to ask better questions. Would you think about getting the best responses out of ChatGPT, for example? It's about crafting your prompt.
Right.
It's all about the ask, and I'm sure you've heard that term before. But before we move there, and I do want to talk about AI, let me just sum up what I heard. So you basically went to nonprofits that you had a history with. So doing the
that's
good work.
That's one thing I did. So that's one. I actually duplicated that from I had a good friend of mine. He was a former NBA player. He has X amount of followers. I said, listen, will you do this for me? He got into his thing, started DMing folks. He also had a newsletter where he had X amount of people in his newsletter. I said, can you send this out to the 10,000 people that's in there and tell them that you support this? And the proceeds of this, some of the proceeds are going to go to your charity of choice. And then I did that with other people and told them the proceeds can go directly to you as well. So I just hacked other people beyond me having an email list of 1.2 million people as well. So I did 30 things over a course of a year to get that. So when I say I sold 300,000-400,000 was downloaded, it wasn't in one day. It took 12 months plus to do that. But it's just the processes that I kept duplicating over and over again and making those outreaches and enticing others to support me. And that's the part that they don't know. They just see that I had done that and made that big number. Yes, I did. But I also had amazing help. But the help didn't come unless I had the ideal to execute and collaborate with those individuals.
Yeah, so you invested in doing philanthropy at first. That's how you got connected with philanthropists. You had invested in yourself through doing sports, and you had sports connections. And then you had all of the work that you had done in your campaigns, et cetera.
Yeah.
So ultimately, if we summarize it, you basically did like an affiliate campaign. You gave them the right incentive, which was support me, support a cause that you care about through your charity, and promote it to your audience, promote the good message, and in exchange, you can get a little cut. The charity gets a little cut. And I think there's something that everybody can learn from that. I think affiliate campaigns are an incredibly smart way to go about promoting stuff, because there's no way you could have done that all yourself.
Yeah.
You don't have these 10 different email lists. So I just think there's something to be said about doing philanthropy. You know, people who are giving their time and money away are typically successful. So you're going to have a great networking opportunity there while doing good, right? Meanwhile, just doing the good work and putting in the grit of, let's just say, playing sports or, you know, music production, whatever else it is, those are what opened those doors for you and made it possible. So I think that's a really cool story. And I'm enamored with it because I've wanted to do something like that myself and just haven't done it. But these days, with a lot of launches, we launch apps with our company. A lot of them were, doing affiliate campaigns now. So the next thing I want to go to before we go to AI, and I do want to go to AI, but I want to talk about philanthropy, because I feel like this is something where, you know, speaking for myself, you know, a lot of this is autobiographical, kind of like, you know, learning as you go. But I really like that you're so involved in philanthropy. You have multiple charities yourself, and it's just, I'm sure it's opened doors for you. So what are the charities that you run, and why do you run them?
So the main one that I run is Major Kicks for Kids. And Major Kicks for Kids is a 501(c) nonprofit. We give away over 1,000 pair of sneakers every single year to kids in need. And we also do statewide shoe drives across the state of California. And we give those sneakers to homeless veterans and programs that work with homeless veterans. And that particular foundation came about probably like 15 years ago. A good friend of mine reached out to me, and he was like, you should create a nonprofit, because I was on Instagram giving away shoes. I used to work with Jamie Foxx really closely. Me and Jamie Foxx wore the same shoes. You know, we wear the same shoes. We go way back, because me and his sister graduated from high school together. And Jamie Foxx's dad was my high school football coach and history teacher.
Nice.
And they both
I got his book right over there.
And they both live in California. And so he would get all these shoes all the time. And over the years, I just accumulated extra kicks. And I had like, at least between me buying them and getting them from him, I had like 5,000 pair of sneakers.
Jeez.
And my wife looked at me one day. I went into the closet, and like a big stack of boxes all fell on me. And she just looked at me shamefully, was like, you need to get rid of some of this stuff. And so, you know, I went on Instagram and just said, you know, I'm going to start giving away shoes. And I would just film myself giving away shoes to homeless people. And then a buddy of mine by the name of Daryl Borkin, former Pittsburgh Steeler, best friends with Jerome Bettis, he reached out to me and was like, you should create a nonprofit around this. And that's why it all started. But the bigger thing that came from this is understanding why I did it as well, is because when I was 14 years old and I was in the projects, we were playing basketball on the court, and all the counselors brought us into like the little recreation gym. And come to find out, a professional player had given everybody tennis shoes. Mind you, there was a big hole in my shoe at the time, right? I'm out there playing ball. My mom didn't have the resources to keep me fresh and new sneakers all the time. But we go in, there's police officers, there's coaches, there's counselors there. They got pizzas. They got the VHS TV. I don't know if you remember I'm sure you remember the VHS.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So the VHS, they brought that out there, and they played us a video. And it was a DARE video. I don't know if you remember that. This is your brain. This is your brain on drugs when the egg goes into the pan, right? Scared the living crap out of me, right? And I'm 13, 14 years old. But the reason why I was so receptive is because they gave us those shoes at that particular time. I was so excited. I was so appreciative. Literally had tears in my eyes, right? It was like the best thing ever. And for a lot of young black boys, especially in the hood, when you get a new pair of sneakers or a fresh haircut,
oh yeah,
you feel like you can do anything in the world, bro. So I felt like $1 million. And from that particular moment, I just knew that from the stories they shared, the police officers that spoke, the coaches that spoke, that particular day it resonated with me so well. It's what opened up and unlocked my mind to want to go off to college, to want to do better for myself. And amongst all the guys that I was sitting in the circle with, listening to that very same message, I literally am the only one who actually took that action. Everyone else probably went back to doing the exact same thing. First of all, the egg thing scared the mess out of me. And then just the message of that you are deserving of a better future. You're not destined to just live and die here in this community. You know, you're talented, you're special, and you're worthy. And I've never heard those type of words directed at me before. You know, and so to hear that genuinely spoken to me, you know, it just like makes me want to pay it forward. And that's what Major Kicks for Kids does. Even though we give away shoes, we actually do more than that because we stay in touch with the parents. We stay in touch with the kids. We don't just give you one pair. We're in our network now.
Wow.
So the next year when school and you guys need shoes again, reach out to us. If you want to take financial literacy, reach out to us. If your mom can't find a job, reach out to us, and we'll help find resources to help you do that.
So great.
And so beyond that, that's the main one that I control, but I work with many other nonprofits for collaborations. We just collaborated with Trina's kids and gave away over 200,000 toys. So we did volunteer work, me, my entire family, my wife's mother. Wow. We went as a family, just all have been just being a part of just the giving spirit.
Yeah, so how does it make you feel when you go give?
It feels like I'm paying it forward. I get excited about it because it keeps recreating that moment in my head of that nostalgia of how I truly felt when someone gave to me that didn't even know me, but had the audacity to care about me. But that audacity to care about me did so much within my insides. It just really changed the whole dynamics of, okay, the world is bigger than what this really is. I really can go out there and accomplish something. So I love giving. And I also love giving so my kids can see me give as well. I grew up watching my mother give. So to be able to do these things philanthropically, and my kids are now accustomed to doing it as well, and even nudge us to do it, right? They want to do it. I mean, that you can't ask for anything better than that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would say they can't find time to give back. What do you say to that?
Well, it depends on how you define the efforts, right? So giving back could literally be going and dropping your clothes off at the Goodwill. Giving back can be finding a certain shelter and going to give them books. Giving back to find out, if they're doing a luncheon, just go and be on the assembly line and, help make, it's only an hour, right? Giving back could be $5 every single month. Right. So there are different ways that you can give back. People just need to know how you can do it sometimes, I guess.
I ask out of personal interest, like, how can we support the charity? I mean, I'd love to give more back. For myself, I just, when you're really driven, like it can become a selfish pursuit unintentionally. Yeah. So how can people support the charities that you're working on?
Well, Major Kicks for Kids is available as far as to gain more information about what we do and what we've done at majorkicksforkids.org. It basically gives you our mission statement, some of the things that we've done as well. People can also donate there as well. We partner with an amazing portal that handles all of our donations also. And it's called Pledge. And it's just been an amazing thing because Pledge actually accepts crypto now. And it's like it's an amazing platform. Right. So they have it embedded in our thing. This past Christmas, as I mentioned, we give away 1,000 pair of sneakers every single year.
Wow.
But for the last 2 years, we've made a commitment to give away 1,000 in 1 month, in the month of December.
Jeez.
So we came short last year. We gave away 642 pair of sneakers. This year, we didn't quite reach it again, but we did 713. So we're getting there. Yeah. And so we're always reaching out to our resources and saying, hey, $50 to $100 helps us get, a pair of sneakers. $20 helps us get a pair of sneakers, So we're always looking for donations from that aspect of it. And I keep it real simple. We raise money, we buy sneakers, and we give the sneakers away. That's what we do.
Overhead.
That's what we do. If it grows into something bigger than that, that'd be fantastic and great to have a big staff and stuff like that to be able to scale it. But as of right now, it's a work of passion,
labor of love,
labor of love, and to do something with your family collectively like that's the even more incentive to continue to do it.
Yeah, that's inspiration for myself for sure. Yeah, and I also think it's cool that, Fleischman, I love his charity, the one that gives away the backpacks full of survival kits. But, as a young kid, when you're a budding student and you're, don't know where you're going, getting something cool, that's, next level. Right?
Yeah.
Getting some shoes you actually like.
Yeah.
I almost feel like that's better than something functional and useful because like you get that elation, you get that like your spirit feels full versus something functional where it's almost like, okay, now I got to go work.
It's almost, I would say it's psychological, being in regards to how it resonates with you. Like, it's just that relatability. And mind you, it's me. Like, I'm not giving away no trash shoes. I'm giving away very nice high-end Jordans, Air Max, Huaraches. Like, so when I come in and they be like, what is this real? And I love those moments, but it's like you're like worth it. But that's my opportunity to serve them and just let them know that they're worth it. These are nothing. These shoes are nothing. You're so much more. Yeah. But I'm just happy I can share this with you. So even like my kids, my son wasn't even into tennis shoes up until like a couple of years ago. And here his dad is with all these sneakers or whatever. And I just kind of dropped the sauce on him a little bit. And now he's like, I want Jordans. But then it became a teachable moment. So instead of me buying him Jordans all the time, I made him purchase stock in Jordans. So now I turned into an educational tool to where now he's getting dividends. And now when those dividends come in, he used that, get a gift card and buy his own Jordans.
Wow.
Right. And so
you guys actually bought Nike stock together?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So we have our Robinhood apps. We open them up and check the ups and downs. But what's great about that, then it's a seed planted. So now when he's talking to his buddies his same age that have no idea about this, now his buddies are getting Robinhood accounts and they're invested into Nike stock because they're talking to their parents about it. And the parents can come ask me about it and I give them the information on it. And so I just think it's all about education because no one spoke to me or my parents, my mom, about these things. And so because I had these great conversations with people, especially from the political standpoint, as far as traveling and meeting so many influential people, smart people. They shared so much information with me that I couldn't help but to be a better parent or a success.
Yeah, and you're almost selfish to not share that. Yeah. And I forget who said it. I think it was Steve Jobs, but he was like, if you can explain it to an elementary schooler, that's when you truly understand it, right? So as you're teaching your kids, not to say that they're elementary, but they're a little bit older now, but as you're teaching them the fundamentals of entrepreneurship, if you can break it down to something where a kid can understand, then you obviously have a rich understanding of what makes a business succeed. So what would you say are the three things you would talk to founders out there to ensure the success of their business?
I would tell them to really listen to their customer. When you listen to the customer, it gives you more opportunity, gives you more data because it's very similar to sales. Sometimes when you have salesmen and they overtalk, but what they should do is ask great questions and then allow those individuals to share with them simply because they're going to give you so much knowledge and data in regards to how to close them. And that's what I love about it. So one thing is, I would tell them to listen to their customers. Another thing is to just reassess themselves. I believe that if you're not personally develop yourself as a leader, as someone who owns a business, then eventually you're going to crumble and fail because you yourself are not put together. And that's something that I learned as well, especially when you're leading other people. It's very it's very telling when you see people who have this great success and you see them crash and burn. It's because the foundation was always weak. Right. And so that's another thing that I tell a lot of great people who are aspiring to be business owners, that are entrepreneurs or executives and CEOs. I always share that with them. So that is definitely key. And I think the last thing is just understanding economics of the business, because, there are different skills that other people believe in regards to pay yourself first or reinvest back into the company. Well, that's not universal. And you got to be very guarded on how you receive information from different people, because you may be at a different place in your life. And and the quick example I will share is that I listened to Grant Cardone, and he shares some really great things, but it's so relatable to me because I've been doing what I'm doing for the last 20 years to a degree. And sometimes he makes it seem so easy. There is a different version of what easy truly represents. And I was listening last night, actually, to Myron Golden. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He's on YouTube. He said that, and that changed my philosophy of what Grant Cardone was doing. This is why I'm making this point. He said that easy is it something you can do? So it is easy. It's something I could do. And so that changed my whole thinking in regards to how I felt like I was listening to the message of a Grant Cardone. And so my message to everyone, do the hard stuff, but understand if you're hearing that it's easy, they're basically saying that you can do it. It's not that you can't do it, it's that if you want to do it. Right. And so that would be my advice to business owners. Listen to the customers, look at the economics on how it relates to you. And then I forgot what the second thing I said was. What was the second thing?
Yeah, it was talk to the customers, understand the economics, and the last one. How am I blanking on
the last one was economics. Dang it.
It's all good. I think they get the point.
They get it.
Yeah, I really like to just break it down in simple terms, and we, myself included, often forget about the fundamentals, right? Like talking to customers, sales, learning to close, things like that, and everything is kind of tough the first time you do it.
It is.
I have like 20 founders that I coach, and they're like, "Oh my God, Facebook ads such a pain in the ass." I'm like, "Yeah, only the first time though."
Yeah.
After that, you're like, "Oh, this is kind of fun." You kind of like make it your bitch,
Right.
And it's also empowering, right? When you can take something, tackle it, wrestle it to the ground, and get a good win out of it. So now I'd like to shift over to technology and AI. So first, my first question for you is: Are you scared for the implications of AI?
No, I'm not. I'm actually very excited about it. There's a very simplistic view that's going around right now, is that there's, because a lot of people are afraid of their jobs, or a lot of jobs are going to be lost due to AI. The understanding that I have is that millions of jobs are going to be lost because of AI. But it's really going to be because of the people who have learned and taught themselves AI is going to take those jobs from those people. So it's not necessarily the AI. It's going to be the people who have actually invested the time, energy, and changing those skill sets right now over the next 2 to 3 years that are going to take those jobs from those people. And so I'm welcoming of it. I love it. I think it's going to be a great aid. So, I also want to say this. Anytime that you have new technology and innovation, there has always historically been pushback. I remember hearing a story that people were in an uproar when they had locomotives introduced in regards to cars. People wanted their horse and carriage. They literally was like, "We don't want change. We want our horse and carriage. This is just fine. Leave us alone. It's smoky. It's loud. It's too like." So just imagine, historically, humans have always pushed back on change, right? You think about the plane. Oh my gosh, just imagine what people were going through back then, losing their minds. It's like, there's no way I'm flying on that. There's no way that I will ever fly on a plane. Now you look every single day, there's millions of people going to an airport to fly on a plane like it's nothing else. So, and that's how I'm with AI. I see so many people pushing back on it. It's because there's miseducation, misunderstanding in regards to what it is and how it can be helpful for so many people. I think over the next 3 to 5 years, you're going to see the most unorthodox multimillionaires come into play, and also the most unorthodox people creating billion-dollar companies because of this. And it's going to surpass you having to have, a master's degree or, doctor's degree. It's going to be such a different world. And I think that we're primed and ready for it, but I'm more excited because I see all the resistance about it also. So I want to be on the other side this time.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Is like when you see people like be greedy when people are fearful, and be fearful when people are greedy, right? Like when you said that, it's not AI that's going to take your job. It's the guy using AI that's going to take your job. And I highly agree with that. And I think, founders of every sort should be taking heed to that. And for example, for us, like I have bots that I have trained in legal. So I put all of our contracts, all of my preferences around, my tolerance points and what, I'm okay with and not okay with. So when I have my ChatGPT analyze one of my contracts, I can trust it quite well, and have the same thing for marketing funnels, for sales processes, for email copywriting, for ad copywriting. And so I'd say create your army of robots, right? Get them on your side. But I think my question earlier was more related to like, are you worried that AI is going to get out of hand?
You know what? I believe
Tesla's
that
bots are going to turn on their owners.
I think we're going to have some experiences of it. eventually, but I think it's similar to, driving a car. Sometimes it malfunctions, sometimes
you crash them.
Sometimes you crash them. Sometimes there's a defect. Sometimes a plane falls, right? When an imperfect person is creating something else, you got to understand, AI is not creating itself. It's first being created and put together by us. We're imperfect beings. We have all these great ideals and we have very smart people, but some things we don't account for. And we
can't account for it.
We can't account for it, right? And I think it's going to be trial and error. I was joking with my son. I was telling him one of our first BMWs. I love BMWs. We bought it. It was 2001. It was a 2001 BMW. But the very next year, it had navigation. Ours didn't have navigation, right? And I'm like, so it's always evolution.
Exactly.
And things that you don't really account for, right? And so my hope and prayer is that it's nothing to the magnitude of where it harms and hurts anyone. But there are going to be glitches. There are glitches that they're still working out, even now, and I think, but there is a lot of benefits to it. Yesterday, day before yesterday, I learned a new prompt based upon my usage of ChatGPT. You can ask ChatGPT, like, who are you? Like how can I succeed in what I'm doing as far as my business, my giving or whatever. And because you've put so much information, it could talk back to you and tell you your strengths, your weaknesses, and also challenge you and give you areas to work on. Like, it's like you just had a therapeutic session that outlined a lot of your flaws right there on the spot, and so that's invaluable to be able to have that. And I come from an era where you have to wait around on people or pay a lot of money. With this, you can expedite so much more of your workflow and things in regards to things you want to do. My book, for instance, I wrote that thing in 13 seconds. I wrote my book in 13 seconds because I spoke it. All my ideals, uploaded some photos, and it created, formatted everything. The second book, Sneakerhead Philanthropist, which comes out next month, tomorrow.
Nice.
That book was 100% by AI. Of course, I fed it all my notes, but it crafted everything. And so when I'm reading it, I haven't even read my own book because AI. But I was like, this is good, man. So now I'm doing an audio book and I'm reading lines that I didn't write, but it reworded it and grammatically corrected it because I just spoke it into the system. But it's an amazing thing to be able to do that. And now I have a tangible product. I have the book at the house. It's a beautiful book. I should have brought it with me.
Yeah,
but I can anyone can become an author now, when that was just like the most sacred thing of getting a publisher and being good enough to get a publisher or have enough money to get an agent. You don't have to do that anymore. And that's why I empower people through Majoration in our community. It's like, you don't have to wait on anyone. You don't have to be at those people table. They're not the cool people. You can become the cool people and build your own table right now.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, just this speed of turnaround, it's incredible. Like, I get things done at an incredible clip now. And, it's like you said, you can have like your personal coach, you can have your personal business advisor. There was a prompt that I followed from some social media posts that said, like, based on everything you know about me, what would you say my top 3 strengths and my top 3 weaknesses are? Yeah. What can I do to, become a millionaire in the next 5 years, stuff like that. And it's so eerily good. I just encourage everybody to do it. And it kind of reminds me of that, what I said earlier, like when you got a force coming at you, you take that and you leverage it and you get into the same wind,
right.
You take that momentum and you use it. Because if you're scared of AI and you're unwilling to, let's just say, learn and adopt and acknowledge it, you haven't tackled that beast, right? You're not the master of that machine. So I think that people should be actively tackling that intimidation because they're going to be the ones who have this, ultra powerful tool at their disposal versus the people who are resisting and are basically just going to get left behind. And those are the people who are going to probably, suffer more of a hit on their career than the person who started, taking it right from the get-go and started automating their workflows. I mean, just everything from like formatting nicely. It's such a pain in the ass to do editing. My mom's a writer and she spends weeks editing books for people. And it's just like, that all that can be automated essentially and organized well. You can move sections and tether the content back together. So I think that's really cool what you're doing. So are you teaching your community that process of, launching their own book?
No, absolutely. So I have a community that I have two different ones. I have one through the subscribers through Instagram. So the people who pay $99.99 every single month, they are a part of that. We have private Q&A and also lives where people just ask me questions. They have their notebooks. I think I have 1,300 people now subscribed to my Instagram, and we get on there and we just chop it up and then the other major version, I think it's 16 people because I just launched it, so like 16 people in that one, but that one's a little bit more high end as well. It costs a little bit more to be a part of that one, but I share very simple concepts and I love paying it forward, and I talk about when you talk about layman's terms, being able to explain it to a child. I was telling my community recently about the beautiful part about understanding other companies that you're trying to reach their level of success. And one of the ways that you can do that is tracking how they communicate with their customer. So what I did many years ago, I went and subscribed to all the biggest companies out there, their newsletters. Why?
The paid ones?
The big ones. Like
the
Apple,
ones where you have to pay?
IBM, they just send them to you. You can subscribe to them. Go to the website. It's a simple subscribe, and they send you all type of stuff. The average person, when they get newsletters and emails from these companies, they're just looking to see what they have to offer. Me, I looked at it like a matrix. I looked at their format, how they communicated, how the lines are spacing, the fonts they use. Why? It's because I know that they paid someone that's top tier at this thousands and thousands of dollars to create this one email or these email templates, and I will copy and paste the templates and use them for myself or even resell those templates that are freely available, right? And that goes back to the guy Myron Golden and I talked about, there's so much money out there to make, and even though I'm just now learning about him, I had already been practicing this. Right when he was my son, who's here in the studio with us, he was going to karate class. I think he was like 7 or 8 at the time. We were coming out of his karate class, and I was looking at a bus stop, a regular bus stop that has like a back to it. So it has like an ad on it.
Yeah, billboard.
And I had this crazy idea because I was listening to Ty Lopez at the time. So this was a while back. Ty Lopez had just come on the scene, and I had bought his 97 Steps to create a social media agency, right? And just listen to some of his concepts. I had this crazy idea. I said, what if I take my phone out right now? I take a picture of the bus stop. I Photoshop the picture off of it, go to local businesses that I want to go and get them as clients for a social media account to run their social medias. So I did that. I filmed myself talking about what I was about to do on how I was going to make some money. So what I did was I took a picture of that bus stop. I went home. I Photoshopped it off. I went to every single business website. I created an ad and put their ad on that bus stop digitally. And then I went and shopped it to them. I printed it out on my home printer, and I went and showed them what their ad will look like on that bus stop and showed them the peak times a day when people are at their red light looking to the right at that particular ad. I called the people who actually run that bus stop. They told me the amount that they paid. I said, I want to secure it for a whole year if you let me do it myself as far as getting you advertisers. They dropped the price down $200. I pushed the price up $600 more. And when they got 13 accounts, and I had that bus stop for a year and a half.
Wow.
With no money. Just a creative idea. And so when you share a story like that, maybe they're not going to do that, but it opens up their perspective and mind to say that I can do other things similar to this as well. And that's the whole point of it. So that's why Majoration is going to be a powerful community, because we think differently. We have a different lens on how we look at the world, and we refuse to be broke, and we refuse to be without, because there are so many resources that are out there. People just don't see them.
Yeah, they don't see them because they just got blinders on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy to think how much programming has narrowed our vision. I mean, even for myself, like that's looking at that scrappy, gritty, entrepreneurial approach, like it just kind of opens your mind, because it's like, wow, you're just so resourceful, put in a little hustle and like made this real business out of it. I think everybody can learn and appreciate that. Like I just love that story, because it's like, any of your excuses are just that. Like there's really nothing stopping you.
And then it doesn't have to be something you have to do forever. Like I don't do it now, but the story of me sharing it pays me, right? Being a part of the community, it allows me to continue to pour into other people as well. I did the same thing with someone's BMW. They were selling there at the car wash. I felt like, I was in a groove. I made really good money off the bus stop for that year and a half.
Really?
It helped sustain and put food on the table, right?
Wow.
And then the guy was selling the BMW. I did the same thing. I reached out to him. I said, I want to help you sell your car. And I said, you want this amount? He said, yeah, I'm going to give you exactly the amount that you want. And I put a couple of $1,000s on top of it. I used my Facebook. I used Facebook ads or whatever, and I sold it in 3 days.
Wow.
And I made $4,000. It wasn't my car.
Sheesh.
And I sold his own car for him. I didn't even know the guy. I just had an idea, and I documented myself doing it. See, the story is what's going to carry it. Mm-hmm. The story is the residual income of sharing the journey of how you did it, because that makes you the authority in regards to getting it done. There's no excuses. So for my community, or a lot of the ones that follow me, it's like rags to riches almost, or the ones that are stuck or making that transition. The guy that's over 40, the woman that's over 40 want to make that switch, or you're in a position where you're not making as much as you want. Even if you're working, these are things that you could do, right? And so that's why they gravitate towards the community, and that's why the Instagram followers are paying $9.99 just to be a part of the community, just to have these type of conversations, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just to hear that story and just to kind of hear that different perspective and lens.
Yeah, again, I think you just sharing those stories inspires other people to try creative things. Earlier in my career, for example, when we started working with TikTok as a client, we way overcommitted to what they were asking for. We spent a ton of money and got no results. And then the moment where we got really scrappy and had to come up with some shit is when we also got rich. I mean, I made $220,000 in a month just from hitting that goal. And it's because I got scrappy. We ultimately had to recruit 200 influencers in a month. I mean, imagine doing that. It's incredible amount of work. And then it didn't work when they started posting. And so we asked them hey, can we send direct messages from your profile? And that's ultimately what did it. We bought a software to shoot DMs from their profiles, and just got incredibly better results. But I think that resourcefulness, so that story helps me close clients to this day, right? Because they know that that's the kind of guy I am. I'm scrappy. I'll figure out a way to get it done, and then I'll produce something that is scalable, that can be used long term, and make it into a real engine. But something that has stuck out to me about all these stories is you're using money as a unit of production or success. Whereas, a lot of tech founders I don't want to monetize yet. I just want to grow the platform, whatever, which I get. But if you use making money as the mechanism for how you design your product, then you can, come up with all these creative solutions to make it happen. There's 1,000 ways to skin that cat. And so I really urge listeners to think about if I had to get creative, what would I do? If rent was coming due and I can't make it, what are all the things I can do to make it? And that's what a lot of those, blowout stories are. It's their back was up against the wall, and then they just got scrappy.
Yeah. So Myron Golden.
Gotta check this guy out.
You guys look at between him and Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, is two examples that I use, but Myron Goldman is more recent. The first story, Robert Kiyosaki, he tells a story about him going to a Porsche dealership with him and his wife. He sees a Porsche that he wants, and the way his mind is wired, he's already has millions of dollars. But he instantly said, how can I, what asset can I use to buy this car? He didn't say, let me go in my bank account or write the check. He didn't buy it right then. He had to go talk to his wife, and he said, what asset can we use to buy this car? That's a different way of thinking. Mm-hmm. Myron Golden, he says that created offer. He said, I don't pay for nothing. If I see something I want, like that vacation is going to cost $30,000, I'll go create a course that costs $30,000. Or I'll go create a course that costs $10,000 and get 3 people to give me $10,000, and now that's paid for. So it's about, that's what I've done. I've monetized my knowledge, my experience, my time, and I use offers more and more. You'll start to see more. I'm using offers, and I'm trading that to supplement other areas. So it's not really coming out of my pocket. It's I'm creating an offer to pay for that, right? Private school is coming up. Okay, let me go find an offer that could be valuable and useful to someone, because I know that my the way that I've done things have been attractive to a lot of people in regards to in the success. I could use that to my advantage to create offers, and then we'll get that offer and we'll take care of that one instance.
Yeah, another thing that stuck out to me that you said is, and I want to hear your perspective on offers, but before we go there, you said document the stories so you have proof. That was one of the big mistakes I made working with TikTok, is like I only took a few screenshots here and there. You know, we're working in gated systems, so when I lost access, you know, after the engagement ended, I couldn't go back and, you know, copy records and stuff like that. And there's a lot of assets that I wish that I had. So talk me through the process of documenting those journeys and how you monetize those.
So, perfect example. I've always believed in kind of being able to share your story, right? So even during the gubernatorial race, even when I ran for mayor of Pasadena, I was always documenting myself because I wanted to control my narrative, right? And I also wanted my kids to be able to see what my emotions were during those moments and what I felt like, my raw emotions. And so the documentation that I have is like super raw. I have something called the measurement. The measurement is going to really give you the raw, authentic, uncut feel of how everything went down during my
so what are these, like
race.
Video journals or
Yes, it's all video.
So you take footage, like selfie video, like in between those
footage,
moments?
Set up a tripod, talk, have my son follow me on certain things, but I have this other thing set up. It's like a confessional, you know, type of thing. Like, and it's really good, but it's raw and it's authentic, and I think it gives so much more value because it takes people in with you. You know, a lot of times it brings them inside, because a lot of times, you know, things are on the surface, right? And if I really want to build with people, I got to build that trust and build community and let people kind of see with the curtains open, right? And just stop operating in the closed section where it's just like, oh, studious and classy.
Yeah.
No, I'm you know, I got no edge up sometime, and hair and beard is all looking crazy. Like, so we share those moments. But when I shared the story to my people about the bus stop, it was exactly what I said. So there's truth to it, right? So it just brings it all together. The fact that I actually did that story, that how I speak about it is what how I manifested it. I took my phone out. I'm at this bus stop like Ty Lopez. Hey, I'm here in my garage. Mm-hmm. I did it before him. I was like, hey, I'm here by this bus stop, and this is what I'm about to do. Like, I literally did that before him, right? But I just held on to it, and I sold the story. But once people got inside the community, they saw the live raw footage of me going through the whole process on my big fat Mac laptop computer, which was this thick back then, the Pro. And I'm typing, you know, you see the camera right here on the tripod watching me type and put the pictures on the bus stop. So you're seeing like the real hustle, the real grit in real time, like you've never seen it before.
So how often do you go live on your IG or anywhere else?
So I used to go live a lot. I haven't been going live a lot lately. I've been dealing with a few different perspectives in regards to different mentors and people that I've been working with. When you are a former political candidate, or even when you're a political candidate at the magnitude that I was, you can get burnt out. That's one thing. But another thing is that, you know, you can overthink it. Like, I don't have nothing to say, you know. So I don't have anything to say politically, because I feel like I built that page more from my political base.
Got it.
And so as I'm growing people into who I'm becoming now, I've been holding back a little bit just for the community. But I do expect to get more active. Yesterday, I went live on TikTok at 1 a.m. I've only been live on TikTok
crazy ass
2 to 3 times in 3 years. I had 800 people watching at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
And they bought 2 pair of sunglasses because I put a product on there of these glasses that I bought that have like the music and the phone connected to it. And I put it on there, and I made like $6 on commission just from being on TikTok. And I've never even done that before, but I was just, trying it out.
Yeah, that shit inspires me. Like, makes me want to go live and like tell a more transparent story, because
Yeah.
all of my public image has been like polished and curated. Like, you only see really the highlights, and I've never really like gone to that level of authenticity other than here on the podcast where I'm very candid. But that just inspires me to like document it more and like tell the real stories. And I think also showing the challenges that we face as entrepreneurs. Like, I thought December was going to be a horrible month for us. God bless us and gave us, 2, pay up front engagements.
Yeah.
Paid between 3 and 6 months up front. It turned out to be our best month of the year. December is normally a rough month. And those moments where it's like one moment you think you're not going to be able to make payroll. The next moment you're like, buying a Rolex or something that, right? And I think like people really connect with that. And I think that's also what a lot of founders lack, is that the humility to just come out and be authentic and be like, I fucked up. Here's how. And then a week later, it's like, yo, I just had a major win. But if you're only telling the wins, they're going to think you're a douchebag.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what we see time and time again. And that's why I think I wanted to share in the way that I share as well, too. I was telling my son recently, I had an idea to start sharing content where I am speaking to my audience, but I'm far away, right? So it's a video I just posted. I was in my backyard, and I was talking about this whole AI thing because I made a post, and people would give me a lot of pushback about AI. And the post basically,
right, it was driving engagement,
right? It was. And I was walking around the yard, and I was kicking a soccer ball, and I was just walking, wasn't really looking at the camera or anything, but I had the mic on so they can hear me loud and clear and it's crisp, right? And he was like, well, why are you not looking at the camera? I said, everyone looks at the camera, right? Let me just try this. Let me see how this works. Let me do 20 of these types of videos. Maybe I'm on to something, right? So I'm always thinking creatively, how can I connect with them differently? What makes me uniquely different? How do I stand out? And in my community, that's what I tell people. Also, you have to think that way, So I created a marketing company. It's called Big Ask Marketing. When you hear that, you're like, wait a minute, what? No, it's Big Ask Marketing. So it's bigaskmarketing.net. And I, handle different small businesses, social media accounts, and create and curate content for them as well, and give them ideas for ads. But when they hear the name, everyone's like, they love it, just because it's
like clicks, like they're like their attention comes up.
And it's just so fun because that's how my mind is wired. Like, what can captivate a person? What could get that pause and that aha moment? And then that laughter is like, so we have the shirts, Big Ask Marketing. And it's like, that is so crazy. I love it. And that's what we wanted. Yep. It's intentional.
Yeah. Wow. You really are like a supermind, a creative genius. I also think that like everyone has a degree of creative genius. It's just how obscured it is, like how many times have you actually like given yourself time and space to actually let your creative juices flow? Because when you're in the hustle of day to day, like you're in do mode, you're not in be mode, right? So I think a lot of people are not letting their creativity through because they're too focused. And I'm speaking autobiographically here because that's one of my things is I put in like, I'm at my desk at 8 and I stay there until 8, or 7 most days. So I'm like dialed in, hustled, working, but that doesn't allow for much creative space.
Yeah.
So how do you source your best ideas? How do you create that flow? Tap into source.
Perfect question. Grant Cardone just said right now, the ones who really want to be successful and do certain things, you have to move fast. When you have an ideal, you have to move fast. And move fast can mean a variety of things. Move fast could be writing it down, at least, because it's tangible. At least you've made an action towards it. I like to fail fast. That's one I've created. I have so many ideals. Me and my wife have this running joke. I don't know if you ever saw the show Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but the sister Hillary, right, always had all these ideals, right? Me and my wife were Hillary. We'll try something and have an ideal just because it's a cool name. Let's create a company around it and just see if it works. And I think if you approach it in that way and just don't overthink it, because a lot of times people like to be totally ready. Like, I like to fly the plane as we're going up in the air. Like, I'm not waiting to get everything. We're just going to have to figure it out. And of course, that's metaphorically, right? From a safety perspective. But we just believe that the era that we're in now is different. It's different. You don't have to just, the resources, the information is different. You don't have to wait on anyone. So just push forward.
Perfection, like I said, is kind of taboo now.
It's subjective too, though.
There's in a whole era of people being like overly perfect bodies on Instagram, overly perfect lives. And you see that, like, that's not what's trending right now. Authenticity is trending.
Well, which is why, I was revisiting. It was like, how can I create content where it's just so awkward but new? I haven't seen this before. Is he talking to me? Like,
dude. I mean, it reminds me like when I'm scrolling the reel section and there's like, just the most obscure, unexpected stuff. Like this girl who's like 300 pounds dancing to Taylor Swift, and she's like super, super viral. And like, obviously people are like making fun of her and stuff, but I don't know. It just makes you think. It's like, why are you so like caught up in like how you look? Like the people who are actually getting famous while you're sitting on your hands are doing stuff that's maybe cringe, maybe uncomfortable.
Right. It's just a different era. Remember back in the day, people used to make fun of people for dating people online and getting married. You met that person online. Now today, 90%. It's like the common thing. Patrick Bet-David recently put up a post in regards to a graph about how much time we spend with each other. They showed the family, showed the phone, showed the friends, and everything has declined and went towards like the social, right? And so we're in a different time now. People will always have those judgmental moments, but you got to look past it, and just make it happen.
Yeah, I remember I was looking at one of your posts, and you had said like, "Hey, for my fans who want to like get more engaged, like I'm releasing this paid community." And I saw a troll comment like, "Why would we pay for your content? You're already posting it." And then I hear today that you've got like, you're making tens or thousands of dollars per month off of this subscription. And so first of all, kudos to you, because that takes a lot of fearlessness, and you have to really like cut through the awkwardness and just be yourself. But second, like when you see the opposition force, like how do you handle that? Do you create more engagement out of it? Do you join the fight and box with them? Like, what do you do with the trolls?
It just decides on what side of the bed I wake up on. There was this one moment recently that I seen one of those trolls, and I just started laughing hysterically because it went along with the post I just recently put up with Keanu Reeves. And I don't know if you saw it.
That's awesome.
But that's exactly how I look at it, and my wife was so great at nurturing me during those moments, because I want to be,
because you're about to go,
because I want to be reactive. And this was even from like the campaign thing, when people would say certain things, because I came up very rough and rugged, and I'm not afraid to put the gloves on or to go bare knuckles or even to talk trash back to people. But when you have a bigger vision and goal in mind, there's a sense of responsibility and also a sense of purpose that's aligned with it. Yeah. And you have to grow maturely, right? And if you truly know that those people don't mean you any well-being anyway, they don't know you, they don't know your heart, they don't know what you're about, they don't want to see you fail. And you start to look at it differently, because when I did engage with some of the trolls, all they would do is screenshot it, use it, and create another post for themselves to get some hype.
To ride your cloud.
Yeah, I've triggered this guy. Look at him responded back. He shouldn't. He shouldn't. So you can't win anyway. It's a double-edged sword. So, I don't think much of it. I just think it's comical, because in their universe, they are everything, and their opinion counts. And I believe they have free speech. They can say what they want. We continue to do the work behind the scenes, and you can't control every single aspect of what's going on social.
Yeah, I just find it so funny, because I saw the guy comment and say like, why would I pay for your content? That's like weird. And then I come to find out that you're actually making money off of this, and he's the chump, because he's still sitting in his mom's basement, right? There was this dude who he was an employee of my little brother, and he saw that I was working with Bilzerian. He's a super fan of Dan, and so he was obsessing about me and my brother, and then my brother fired him because he was a lame ass, right? And then this dude got drunk and started sending me all these messages, said some really fucked up stuff. He was like, how did it feel when you couldn't afford your dad's funeral and you ran a GoFundMe? He's just, basically said like you're a piece of shit. You couldn't afford your dad's funeral, so you ran a GoFundMe. And I'm like, first of all, like, my dad was a good man. And like, we didn't do that because obviously we want to get the community support, but this is about supporting my mom who's about to be a widow, dog, and our Down syndrome brother. So it's like, damn, that's really fucked up, dude.
Right.
But he knows those things about us because he knows my brother. Right. He knows my family because, the proximity. And it was just like so deeply fucked up. I was just like, man, dude. But like, I don't really see the value in responding to somebody like that. But in that moment, I forget exactly what I said, but I said something along the lines of, you're going to get what's coming for you, and I'm going to keep living my life and succeeding. And I just find it funny because like, I almost see those as opportunistic moments where it's like, you can take the high road. And I typically do because, I have an image to manage too. I'm not really trying to like have, be throwing fists on the internet, but I don't know, dude. Part of me says like, fuck these guys, like go fuck them up. Make a fool of them. Like they got themselves into this mess. It's a bar fight. You're getting your ass kicked, So I don't know. I just think there's something to be said about like putting people in their place if they do something really fucked up like that. Yeah. So I don't know your thoughts on that, but
well, I put up a post that kind of got a lot of controversy. I said, when is it going to be okay again for guys to fight and not get assault charges when you lose? Right?
Yeah, when you lose.
I mean,
the guy who wins is impressive charges.
We're at the gym and you're playing physical and we get heated and you talk trash and you call me a bitch or something and I don't like it and we swinging at each other. That's in the heat of the moment and we're fighting. But nowadays, guys, when they get hit, they go running, screaming.
Press charges,
and everything. I'm like, why we just can't fight? So I've shared about that often, and so I had a huge issue with that. Like I said, I grew up a certain way where I want to be reactive. I grew up in a household telling jokes. I came up around Jamie Foxx. I can crack with the best of them. I can go back at you. I can go look at your page, just take some messed up stuff about you on what I perceive in regards to what you portray online. But that's the irony of it. People actually think they know you based upon just social alone. Like, even if you go online and you're saying something in your mind, you may be joking or for real. They don't know, but they'll take that nugget and just be so adamant about who you are in that moment and just make it who you are universally for your entire life. We know that that's not true. We grow and evolve. Just even politically, I was a Democrat by default for life. They were just because grew up in that proximity. My mom was. My grandmother was, my granddad, everyone was Democrat. Dallas, Texas. It's by default. I didn't become Republican until 2017, 2018, and that's when I was working with Cole Harris when he ran for lieutenant governor of California. And it was so like a conversation like this. My son was there, was at a birthday party in the backyard in San Marino. Kids are running around, smoking a cigar, having a drink. Beautiful day. And he leans over to me and he said, I'm going to run for lieutenant governor. And oddly, the first thing I said, what is that? I didn't even know what lieutenant governor was.
I don't know.
And he was like, I'm going to need somebody, that I know in my camp, because he obviously is going to have like this campaign team. It's like somebody be in my own camp and watch my back. And so I was like, I think about it. He said, yeah, I really want you to come on board. And he said, I give you $20,000 a month. I'm like, what do I sign at? Right. So
say no more, fam.
So that was my entry into politics. And then after that, he said, I'm a Republican, right? He's a white guy, right? We've been knowing each other forever. I said, oh, so you're the racist white guy that's trying to hold me back. So, of course.
See, that's such a moment, though. Like, when I just love, like, the opposition where it's like, whoa, I just realized we're supposed to be at odds here.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well, we're gonna have to figure this out because I'm about to come work for your ass, you know.
So we just and it was jokingly in love, and we just laughed because I've been knowing this guy for 7-8 years. Prior to that one conversation, we didn't even have a political talks, right? And all of a sudden, he's doing this, and then this is who he is because I wasn't active politically. So although I was that on paper, I wasn't active for anybody, right? And so we went down the rabbit hole of conversation in regards to policies,
beliefs,
timestamps, my morals, my values, my beliefs, and we were literally dead center.
And you're like, damn, maybe I don't fit into that.
2-3 days later, I registered, changed my registration, turned over to Republican, and I've been a conservative ever since. And then I actually had my mom in 2016, right? She voted for Donald Trump.
Wow.
She was anti, any Republicans or whatever, and I just went down the gamut with her. But that didn't sell my mom. You know what sold my mom? Well, she raised me.
Yeah, she's like, I made you.
If my son is going for this, and this is where his heart is, and I know how he moves, it must be something there. I don't quite get it yet.
He's not stupid.
Right. I don't quite get it yet, but I'm a support you. This is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I find it funny because, like, I hesitate to call myself in the Republican Party. I'd probably be closer to libertarian. But I do think there's, place for policy and regulation for sure. But I find it funny because Donald Trump's not really a Republican. He's got a ragtag group of rebels. I think it was Tucker Carlson who said
he's just
this.
A dude.
Yeah, he's just a dude who's like he's willing to throw bows. He's willing to like talk shit. Yeah. And like I respect that he's a badass.
Yeah,
I want my leader to be a badass.
His presence.
Yeah,
that's what I told everyone during the campaign. I made a full blown video in support of him. I said, listen, this guy. I don't want to be this guy. I don't know this guy. I'm not his friend. But what he represents in his presence, this country desperately needs. We can't play around, in these other areas of trying to appease and have the first this and the first that. It's like we're far gone from that right now.
Yeah, and I think it's just funny because his whole cabinet or so his whole camp is former Democrats: Tulsi Gabbard, Elon Musk, RFK.
Yeah.
And my dad would have called me a Democrat if he knew my current belief systems, right? So I'm not even that, but I just find it like the dogmas are so useless, the fixed frames of belief. Like I do everything from source. It's like about what I genuinely feel and want and what's important to me and my family and my life and to other people too. Like what's the best for society. Like I genuinely believe a merit-based system is the best, and I think it will make excellence out of a lot of the bottom feeders who are being enabled today.
Absolutely.
So that's why I've always respected your journey. I've always that's why I was so excited to have you on the show because from the very beginning I was like, this guy is a first principles person, right? And that's the thing is like when I see somebody who I disagree with, but they are a first principles person, they're making decisions based on their fundamental belief system, and they actually stand for something. I respect that a lot, and I'm actually quite attracted to and enthralled and engaged by somebody who has a different belief system because I forget who said it. I think it was Tucker Carlson or somebody was like, it was actually Piers Morgan saying, we're all working off a set of facts.
Yeah.
And then our belief systems are how we interpret those facts. As long as we can agree that these are the facts, though, I can respect your differing standpoints. Right. So I don't know. I just really like that. And I never really thought much of Piers Morgan up until now, but I really liked that angle that he took.
No, that's fantastic.
Yeah. So, now I'm curious to hear like you got a ton of irons in the fire. I don't know how you juggle it all, but like you make good money, you do awesome things, you give back. And what's 2025 look like for you?
So in 2025, it's going to be a lot different. It's going to be in reverse. It's not going to be a lot of irons in the fire, so to speak. I'm really going to get a little bit more laser focused so I can build a company that I can exit. Mm-hmm. Right. And really build the nonprofit. As I mentioned earlier, it's pretty straightforward, pretty transparent, but I actually want to make it a real thing. I really want to create a space, find a facility and a headquarters where the umbrella company is Majorvation, have the Major Kicks for Kids in there, and really streamline what the purpose is going to be moving forward. So I'm at another self-discovery moment moving forward, but I'll be able to take the successes that I've had in 2024 that's given me the leverage to be able to do that, and some of the relationships, most importantly, that's going to allow me to hopefully scale in a new direction. So there's a second book, so I love being an author. I love being a paid public speaker. That's really great. I spoke not too long ago in a room of 3,000 some people.
Wow.
And it was great because I had everyone really in tune. And I think from having a musical background, performing artist, I just have a certain fearlessness when I'm on the stage. I really enjoy it.
So badass.
Right. And also, I always, my mother used to always say she used to think I was going to be a pastor because we grew up in the church. And I really love, so we do Majoration Sundays as far as me and my family. I do Bible study with my family. But when you're able to blend those type of stories, it can get people fired up. But the biggest thing, what I tell people as far as the takeaway is that don't be that individual that hears all this good stuff and you're chanting and high-fiving the person next to you, and then the next week you're depleted again. You got to be able to self-develop yourself. You got to be able to self-motivate yourself. And so I really want to put a lot of focus on my public speaking. I really want to put a lot of focus on building Majoration, writing more books, and then just being philanthropic with other organizations with major kids, and hopefully partner with good people like yourself and seeing how we can add some value to the world.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm all about it. I was on a podcast, great show. It's called Official Success Formula last week. This dude's 40, and he's worth like 200 mil. Incredible entrepreneur, Sean Lynch. And he asked me what my definition for success is, and I said, or what the formula of success is the name of his show. And I said, it's you take a small bet. You bet $100, you make $1,000. Your next bet, you bet $1,000, you make $10,000. And next thing you know, you're betting $100,000 to make $1 million, and you're betting a $1 million to make $10 million. And by nature, you have to put $1 million on the line. You have to lose $1 million in order to make $10 million. And I just really like that. It was Hormozy who originally I got that idea from. But the success is accumulated. It compounds the more you're willing to persevere and carry on. Take bigger bets, have bigger losses, and have bigger wins.
Yeah.
So it always starts with taking a risk, having a loss, and then having a massive payoff. But you have to follow through. It's like the guy digging in the mine who's about to hit the diamonds. And so I'm really excited to see you take this next big bet, and I think you're going to consolidate into a massively successful business. I can already see it taking shape, especially with the early adoption you've gotten from the paying members, you got from the book, et cetera. People are getting behind your ideas, and that's really impressive and exciting. And I'm eager to watch that journey and be a partner and a friend and follow along, because each time you take that risk, the payoff gets bigger and bigger. And just, from my own experience, unsolicited, words here, but if you just stick with the business for a long time, you'll be ultra successful. And so I'm excited to see you consolidate and get one thing and really double down on it and get that flywheel spinning to where it's unstoppable.
Right.
So,
and that's the whole point and purpose of everything that we're doing right now, just streamlining it. So between me kind of correcting myself and ChatGPT pushing me in the right direction also,
lawyer,
and me stop being such a rebel, I could have been worth $100 million now over the last 10 years. But I've just been such a rebel, and I fought against it because when you have these ideals, that's, it's a gift and a curse.
Yeah. Because,
you want to act on it right now, but it takes you away from putting in those hours that you need. And the other thing that hasn't really, been curated properly. Right. And so I'm very excited about this next year and this new task. And under the Majoration umbrella, there's going to be a Majoration Summit at some point too, which we're going to need you to be a part of it. So
let me know.
We're going to need you.
So how can the audience and the community support you? Is it following you on Instagram, or is it downloading the book? What's the best way we can support?
I would think the most active way is through Instagram. At Major Williams. In that particular platform, you can also email me as well. DMs kind of go by the wayside because there's so many of them, not just because of people reaching out. The spots and the bots and the spam has gone ridiculous as well. But Instagram is a great way, or you can reach out to me directly at our office, info@theofficeofmajorwilliams.com. You'll hear back from Tina. Tina is the one who controls everything.
Your boss?
Yeah, she controls everything. Between her and my wife, she controls everything. But yeah, Instagram @MajorWilliams. Make sure to check out majorkicksforkids.org. See what we're about. If it's something you're interested in being a part of and giving back to the community. As I said, we raise money, we buy sneakers, we give those sneakers away to kids in need. And it's bigger than just the give. It's the resource, it's the conversation, it's the continualness of our connection with those young people.
Oh yeah. Well, thanks for coming on the show, Major.
Absolutely. It's been fun. It's been fun.
You're a shining light and an inspiration to myself and to many others. So
thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for highlighting some of the things that we're doing. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. It's good work. So thank you again for coming on. We'll see you around, man.
My brother. Thank you.
Appreciate you, bro.